Hello, grade 3s. Today we're going to be learning about three-dimensional objects. Now, three-dimensional objects are objects that we can actually see and touch and feel, and that are not just two-dimensional flat objects like the polygons we've been learning about before. Today we're going to start with learning about pyramids and prisms. Pyramids are very, very important because with every pyramid you're going to notice these triangular shapes on the faces here. That's different from a prism because the prisms all have rectangular faces. So just to review, pyramids have triangular faces and prisms have rectangular faces. Now you're probably wondering, Mrs. Koziak, what on earth is a face? Well, I'm about to tell you. Faces are the flat parts on a 3D object. So these flat parts are parts that we can slide our hands down and they feel nice and flat for us. So when we are going to be counting faces, we're counting those flat pieces. You'll also notice at the bottom there is a flat piece too. That is called a base. Now, a pyramid has a different shape on the bottom than it does on the sides. Pyramids can come in many different shapes and sizes. This pyramid has a rectangle on the bottom and then triangular faces on the top. The thing that stays the same with every pyramid though is that there are all triangular faces along the top. The bottom is the only shape that changes. Now, let's go through it and we're going to have a look and see where each piece is. So I've got some words written down underneath each of these shapes. We've got edges, vertices, and faces. Now, what you'll notice about a pyramid is that it all comes to a very central point right here up at the top. Every pyramid has that. Just like how I said every pyramid has these triangular faces, every pyramid also has one big point at the top. That point is called a vertex. Can you see any other points? If you're looking at these over here, you're right. These are also vertices. Vertices is more than one vertex. Vertex is just one. Vertices means more than one. So anytime it comes to a point or to a corner, that is a vertex. So this pyramid has got 5 vertices. So I'm just going to write down the number 5 right next to the word vertices. Now remember how I was talking about faces, and the faces are the flat surfaces that you can run your hand down. We've got 1 face in the front here, 2 right there, 3 over here, and then we can't forget that 1 behind there. So that's 4. But remember how I also said that a base is a face as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So I'm going to write down the number 5 here as well. Edges. Edges is where we get a little bit more into how the shape is made. So any of these edges are where 2 of the flat surfaces meet. So this is an edge right here. This is an edge right here. There's one right here. And one right there. Can you see any other edges?
Ashley, but no, you're in school, honestly.
If you noticed this edge here, and this edge here, this one here, and this one here, you would be correct. Now, let's count up all of those little green lines that we drew on the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 edges on this pyramid. All right. Now, moving on over to the prism. The prism, we said that there are always rectangular faces on the prism. Can you count how many faces there are on this prism? So we've got 1 at the bottom, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 on this side and 1 on this side. So that's 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 faces there. Okay, vertices. Remember, vertices are the points. So we're going to just look at the points here. There's 1 point there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This prism has got 8 vertices. Now let's go back to edges. Remember, edges are where the 2 faces meet. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So this prism has got 12 edges. Now, moving on to some more 3D shapes. We're going to look at cones, spheres, and cylinders. We're going to start with this one right in the middle, the sphere. Remember how we said edges are nice flat surfaces, nice flat sides? Do you see any flat sides on a sphere? I don't. That's because a sphere has 0 edges. What about corners? Remember how we said vertices were corners or points? Do you see any points on a sphere? I don't. So we have got 0 vertices. How about a face or a base? Now, some of you might think that there could be one face or base because there's one smooth surface. But that surface isn't flat, is it? It's round. So we actually have 0 faces or bases. Okay, now we'll go over to the cone here. Edges, vertices, and bases or faces. Well, what we notice here is that just like a pyramid, a cone comes to a point. Do you remember what that point was called? That's called a vertice. Now, this is one vertice, which is vertex, not vertice. So it has one vertex. Edges, remember that's where 2 sides meet? Right here is the edge on the cone. And it goes all the way around because it is a circle. So that is one edge. What about a base? Well, there's one flat surface at the bottom of a cone, so we would count that as 1. So, one edge, one vertice, and one base. Let's move on to the cylinder. Now, just like the cone, we had decided that this round part here was considered an edge. So if the cone has one edge, the cylinder then must have 2 edges. And remember how we were talking about the vertices and the vertices being the point? That cone had 1 point. Do you see any points on the cylinder? I don't. So we have got no vertices on the cylinder. How about faces or bases? Going back to that cone, we decided that there was one base or face which was right at the bottom. Now the cylinder has 2 of those. So we would say that there are 2 faces which are the bases of the cylinder. Boys and girls, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and practicing this even more in class. We'll see you soon. Have a wonderful evening.